Hey guys, the game you are looking at right now, called Z.O.N.A Origin. It's an FPS RPG set in the radiation contaminated zone. Basically, think of it as a VR version of Stalker or Fallout. It also has a lot common with Into the Radius. Now, in terms of art style, Into the Radius feels more surreal and dreamlike, with that unique, almost liminal vibe. Z.O.N.A Origin, on the other hand, feels much closer to Stalker, which is the gritty, nuclear apocalypse atmosphere. Personally, I really like that. One big plus is the map size. Most VR games have pretty small maps, but this one actually gives you surprisingly large and varied areas, even considering it's an indie low budget title. If you are like me, and you love the adventure side of the survival games, that's a huge draw compared to Conversions, which has a similar setup. This game world feels way bigger and more diverse. Another strength, the enemies variety. You will run into the sort of the weird and creepy creatures. Human soldiers, zombie types, slow ones, fast ones, enemies that turn semi-invisible, one that explode or devour you if they get too close. There's a lot going on. This mix keeps encounters interesting. And that's not something most VR games pull off. The overall vibe is also solid. If you are a Stalker fan, this game has that damn, grimy, gritty feel that Into the Radius never really gives you. It also borrows some of the best mechanics from the Into the Radius. The backpack system, for example, feels more like an exfil zone with a free slot setup. Personally, I think that fits the tone better than the grid-based system from Convergence. The only thing I don't love is how items shrink when you put item in the bag. I get it, it makes things smoother, but I'm not a fan of the item magically changing size. Missions are pretty varied too. I wouldn't say they are revolutionary, but they hit about the average for this type of the game. What makes them stand out though is the fact that all the NPC have full voiceover. Most VR games still shipped out with the text-only dialogue, even though we have tons of the affordable AI voice service now. For me, that kills immersion. Like, I don't mind reading in monitor games, but in VR, where immersion is everything. Text dialogue feels like a huge mistake. I had it in Legendary Tale and Zenith. Z.O.N.A Origin avoids that issue, and even if the voice acting isn't perfect, it really adds to the experience. On similar note, moving item between your hands actually feels really nice. It's a small thing, but since controls are the one of the game's weakest point, I appreciate that they nailed this part. Alright, let's get into the downsides, because there are quite a few. First off, the gun mechanic just aren't intuitive. Most VR shooters do it one or two ways. Either you use grip for all mech interaction like onward and Into the Radius, or you use trigger for everything like Pavlov, Contractor, Ghost of Tabor. Either way, it's consistent. Z.O.N.A Origin mixes them, grip to grab, trigger to remove, and it just feels off. On top of that, there's no vibration, sound, or feedback when you pull a map, so you constantly have to look down to check. And if you drop something on the ground, no sound. You just lose it without realizing. All of this hurts the game's polish. Another big issue is there's no day-night cycle. Each map is locked to one weather condition, one time of day. That might not sound huge, but it absolutely kills immersion. No matter how much time you spend in the area, it never changes. So it feels less like you are in living world and more like you are in an arcade game. No tension, no time pressure. Compared to Into the Radius, this is a massive step back. The map themselves also feels disconnected, like a separated level instead of the big world. I get that the true open world is hard for a small dev team, but even just giving the illusion of the connection would help the tone. For example, there's a shore system that should connect your base to the surface. Ideally, you'd walk into the shore, explore, and then choose one of the several exits. Instead, you just pick the location on the map in your bunker and teleport there. Some areas do work the immersive way, but it's inconsistent. If everything was linked smoothly, it could pull off the illusion of one big world, like Into the Radius 1 did so well. Visually, I think the props, characters, and creatures look pretty good, but the heavy use of the filter is a problem. Each map has its own strong color grading, which makes the world feels disconnected. On flat screen, that might work, but in VR, it just feels unnatural. And then there are the ambient lighting, which is way too dark and unnatural. Shadows are way too heavy compared to the brightness of the sky. It feels artificially tweaked like the warm movie filter. Instead of the natural lighting, sometimes it's so dark you actually need a flashlight during the day, which just doesn't make sense. Lastly, the map layout. Each map basically connects in a straight line through the base. Even if individual maps are okay, the overall structure ends up feeling very linear. If there had a global map with multiple entrances and exits like Into the Radius 1, the world would feel so much more alive. So yeah, that's my review of Z.O.N.A Origin. I really hope the devs take this kind of feedback into account, either to improve this game or to make their next one even better. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed the review, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment below. I'll catch you next time with another review or gameplay video. Bye!